So I've cleaned up my, honestly, I've cleaned up my speech and writing a little bit because some hassles just aren't worth it. So insofar as you can foresee the hassle in real time coming your way as you're forming each sentence, it's, you know, I found it useful to just be aware of not making life needlessly difficult for myself. And that comes at some expense. I mean, because there is a lack of color and a lack of just fun and freedom in the act of communication. When you can assume a modicum of intelligence and goodwill from on the part of your audience, and you can assume that the people who are following the plot will defend you adequately against the people who are maliciously misrepresenting you, well, then you're kind of free to just to have fun on the high wire a little bit. But it's becoming, I mean, you know, it's gotten so bad with respect to my podcast that there are people who will edit the audio of my podcast so as to make it sound like I'm saying the opposite of what I was saying in context. So it's just, and then there are people who will broadcast those edits to millions of people, and there is no defense against that except to have a large enough audience that cares to push back against it, so that there's this kind of ambient groan whenever that happens, and people notice. But it's a bad job to have to do it oneself, and in fact, it's, you know, I'm now convinced it's almost always counterproductive to defend yourself, because it makes one, it's boring for all the people who are following the plot and who understand that, you know, in my case, I'm not a racist and misogynist and advocate of, you know, genocide against all Muslims or whatever. These are kind of the greatest hits of my detractors. So for me to say yet again in some form, whether it's an article or a podcast or a public talk, listen, I don't actually want to annihilate hundreds of millions of people with nuclear weapons today. You know, that's not my position.
That happens next Tuesday.
You know, right. Yes. No. That's you know, a few things would have to happen before we would have that conversation about mass genocide. So the people who know that you're not a genocidal maniac don't need to hear you take that particular foot out of your mouth again and again. And the people who are committed to thinking you're a terrible person are truly incorrigible. They're unreachable. And some of them have very large platforms. I mean, you know, they're people who will never apologize. Even if when they do it inadvertently, there are people who will never apologize for getting something catastrophically wrong in terms of damaging a person's reputation. So it is unwinnable, and what you continually send the message that you are spending all your time concerned about your reputation and the misrepresentations of things you've said, and it clogs up your bandwidth so much that you at every moment it's a forced choice between cleaning up someone else's mess, which took them like 5 seconds to create, or doing profitable and interesting work yourself.